Okay, that's loading up. This is Rosa Shive, and I'm here to talk about Lambo, Unicorn, Rainbow. I got the stories on this and Bitcoin, and basically getting to the moon. So, you may have heard the news that a car dealership in Newport Beach, California, a Lamborghini dealership is willing to sell Bitcoin for a Lambo for Bitcoin. And since the price has gone up, and we'll talk about the price significantly, and it looks like even going into the hard fork is going to continue to rise. It might even reach, I would say by the 17th, probably either 850 or 8,500 or close to 9,000, not quite 10,000. Depends on what happens with the fork. You could probably end up seeing a $10,000 Bitcoin by the end of the year. It's pretty much everyone's prediction, but just wanted to talk about this, rainbows, stars, unicorns, Bitcoin, and to the moon on a Lambo. And what I wanted to talk about is not just, and this is, I'm going to have the credit for this photo. It comes from the ETH Trader subreddit. I'll make accreditations. I can't quite pronounce the Reddit user's name who posted this. It's a very beautiful picture if you look. Very stylistic. This style right here, this kind of almost off shading, is very reminiscent of early 80s magazines of depiction of cars. And then of course you have the massive Earth image, and then that's the moon. I wanted to talk about something I touched on in my previous video, which I will have a link in the show notes, about let me see if I can pull it. No, that's not it. No. Okay. 10. Episode 24 of Ferocious Thought Bubble. 10,000 satoshis for Bitcoin. And I just wanted to talk about, it's great that there's another product that people can buy for their Bitcoin, a piece of property, if you will, a very expensive piece of property. One that can kind of sometimes retain its value, unlike some cars, all cars, when they drive off the lot, the value drops. But there are some cars, certain models, that go up in value. Most of them are like those muscle or old cars, but sports cars in themselves have been known to trade for paying for debts, peer-to-peer and stuff like that, being traded for value. Look like here, 2018 for 2017 Lamborghini Hurricane, 2004, 154,000. They have a Mercedes-Benz here. But it made me think, and this is the place, the Lamborghini Newport Beach, which is the only one in the world really right now that's directly selling. I believe they're using the payment platform BitPay to accept Bitcoin, which means they're probably trading out in the fiat, and we'll talk about that in a second. But there was a total of 3,457 cars delivered to customers in 2016. That is from the Lamborghini website, the official company, and this is the U.S. volume, if you will. So maybe think that, there's not that many that are sold, period, anyways, for fiat. I'm sure, with the meme of Lambo on the moon, or get your Lambo, which has been part of the, cryptocurrency space, started in Bitcoin and it's been adopted by all the crypto coins. Basically where the cryptocurrency space is an expression of what they're going to do with their newfound wealth. I mean, you think if those who actually are going to commit and do this, and this is not the first time a Lambo has been bought from Bitcoin. Back in 2013, that was the case. Someone did buy a Lambo for Bitcoin. It was like a peer-to-peer sell. But this is direct buy here at the Lamborghini Newport Beach. It made me think, okay, so Bitcoin right now, currently the recording of this blog is at 7,100, some change here. So 25 Bitcoins, 179. If the average price of these can go anywhere from 250K to 300,000. Some go north up to plus 5,000. But let's just kind of split the difference and say you can get a Lambo for like 300K. Okay, so let's type in 30. Nope. 35 Bitcoin. That's 250. 40. 47. All right. So 47 Bitcoin. Why would you part with 47 Bitcoin? That amount of Bitcoin for a Lambo. Now, I'm a person who believes you should be spending Bitcoin. I believe in the utility of the purpose of being a digital cash. Yes, it's a storage value, but that's not its only or primary function, if you will. It's all encompassing. This is a new economic system, a new economic tool. It's a way for people, Bitcoin and cryptos in general, to have sovereign wealth, have direct control of their assets, if you will, the way they can prosper in this world. And maybe think about the power of negotiation. I mean, if you look at the price chart right here, 7,894 for one Bitcoin, you can get, for 47 Bitcoin, you can get yourself a Lambo. And I'm including in that like the entire cost, like sales tax, any of those added licenses or something like that. So let's make it even 50, an even 50 amount of Bitcoin to get yourself a Lambo. Why would you part with 50 Bitcoin? When I talked about this in episode 24 about 10,000 Satoshis for a price of coffee, I was trying to say, we should start thinking even now about the power position of our financial wealth that we have. This is an asset that has gone up in value that's not going to go down. It may, drop a bit. It may go through ups and downs and crashes and stuff like that, but it's never going to go to zero, and it's always going to continue to have value, and that value is going to increase over time. Just think about it. Like 2 years ago, Bitcoin was $250. At one point, it was like 1,300, but that was like a lot of significant bad manipulation in 2013. And now we're here at 7,165 when you have things like the Chicago Mercantile Exchange pumping money in, Fidelity, a lot of what people are calling the real money, the capital assets, like the power structure is pumping money into Bitcoin. And it's not even the full weight of the power structure. It's just a portion, a small sliver of it. And that's already driving up the price. You also have Coinbase that's allowing for direct buys with your bank accounts. Before, you had to wait like 4 or 5 or 7 days. And I caution you, if you're going to do direct buys using Coinbase, to check and verify with your bank that your bank is okay with your purchasing of Bitcoin, which is something that Coinbase had not done. They didn't, I would say, do their due diligence in making sure that these banking companies like Bank of America or Chase or anything like that are on board, so that they know that some of their customers might be utilizing their service. Even though Bitcoin is perfectly legal in the US, it is actually taxed. It is FinCEN, it's regulated to some extent, not to the extent that other assets are regulated, or to the extent that many people fear regulation is coming, but it is regulated. So it's a legal means of doing business. There's still a lot of gray areas, but for the most part, it's fairly damn legal. But still, there's still banking instruments or systems that are not willing to deal with that. And they didn't warn their customers about that. And there are people that have had their accounts shut down because of doing direct buys through Coinbase, or doing some type of direct buy, with their bank accounts. And even with that, I'm just, if that's something you're interested in doing, I caution you, make sure with your financial institution it's possible. Check their terms of services, their website, maybe talk to your branch manager or something like that before you make a purchase and end up having your account shut down. But why would you part with 50 Bitcoins? You should be, and hopefully, people who do go out to Newport Lamborghini Newport Beach are negotiating, which is what people do all the time. But the problem is with the previous concept of negotiation, when you're dealing with the fiat system, the dollar doesn't have really all that much value, really, with inflation and just the devaluation and the debasement of the currency. The power of negotiation really is on the business side of things, because as a consumer, there's only so much wiggle room. Now, for some instances where someone wants to unload a product or something like that, you can get deals, you get sales, if you have cheap products being put out there. But I'm talking about significant hard property value. There's only a little wiggle room, and that's built in a lot of times when real estate is priced out. There's like, they put it as high as they can get, people to be interested, and then they have a floor on which they are not going to go below to sell a particular piece of property, because they have to make profit. And the fact that fiat doesn't retain any value long term, it just doesn't. They're turning around and spending out that money and either put it into other property, other assets that have or kind of retain some type of storage of value, of storage of wealth, paying their customers taxes and stuff like that. So you have this asset that, has a retaining a storage value that is not being devalued, is not being debased. It doesn't really have inflation as we know it. It's only going to increase in value. And it's not like gold, where with gold, the problem with gold beyond the transportation issue is people have done this since the very beginning of gold coins and silver coins being utilized. People take it to their homes and they scrape off of it, and then they put it out in circulation. So it's not really an ounce of gold. It might be an ounce and a smidge. Or they plate a piece of coin and take all the silver out and plate it, like a piece of metal or a nickel or whatever, and try to pass it off. I believe I saw an article about how in Canada, when they're checking their vaults, they're finding out a good chunk of their gold reserves is not gold at all. They've been fooled. They've been hoodwinked, if you will. They've been scammed. And this happens all the time. That's why there's so many tools to verify with gold. Well, you can't do that with Bitcoin. You can't double spend it, and you can't take it home and scrape out something and create a fake Bitcoin and put it out there in the system. It's not possible. So when someone receives either a portion of Bitcoin, some Satoshis, or a full Bitcoin, they know they're getting a full Bitcoin. It's something that is theirs, they own it, and it's not something that is being scraped off or faked or anything like that. And it's also something that retains its value because it's decoupled from national systems. It's decoupled from the central banking system. It's decoupled from the global market system, global banking system. It's decoupled from the trials and tribulations of governments. You don't have the trust and faith type of a deal when it comes to governments. It's something that's done solely, basically, on the internet through energy and computers and peer-to-peer, and it's very distributed across the globe. Not as distributed as it can be, not as distributed as I think it should be, but it's fairly distributed in a sense. You have nodes, miners, users, well divided all over the place, and no one has direct control or say in Bitcoin. I know that we're going in a completely big old fight with the fork, but it's all about consensus. It really is. It's all about these are the set rules. This is what Bitcoin is. And this is something that, Bitcoin is struggling with, about the concept of what is Bitcoin. But for the very technical aspects of it, there's certain parameters that make it impossible to do what you can do with gold or silver or any precious metals and scraping it off and passing off fakes. Same thing with fiat, where you pass off counterfeit currency. And because of inflation and debasement, because there will only be 21 million Bitcoin ever in existence, you don't have the printing of money and the quantum easement and all these manipulations by governments and central banks to manipulate the financial system to their advantage, not so much to the advantage of the people or individuals. So if you're an individual and you have this asset that has value, has significant value and retention, why would you part with a full 50? Why wouldn't you try to negotiate and say, I'm only going to part with 20 Bitcoin? I mean, yeah, you have a Lamborghini, but I actually have the power in this negotiation. I have the item that actually has the more potential value. Some Lamborghinis, particularly depending on who designed it, might go up in value or whatever. I might be able to trade it, but for the most part, once I drive off with that Lamborghini, it's going to diminish in value. My value, having a Lamborghini might be great emotionally and displaying it and whatever. My idea is, my personal Lamborghini will be pink with a unicorn with some rainbows and stars shooting out of his butt, and it'll just sit in my garage, never to be driven, just sitting there on display. One of those tacky new wealth type of deals. I just find it very amusing. I don't know, maybe I might do a mock-up of a Lamborghini, like one of those build your model type of deals. But anyways, the point is that the value of Lamborghini diminishes while the value of Bitcoin will ever increase over time. And yes, Lamborghini Newport might in fact be switching off to fiat, but if we learn something from Overstock, they're starting to keep their Bitcoin. There's a number of different businesses that are keeping a portion of their Bitcoin, whether it be 10%, 20%, in the case of Overstock, 50%. But if Lamborghinis was less than 4,000, I would imagine even with the sales of Newport, where there might be selling maybe 5 or 10 of them, it might be in their overall economic interest to retain even half of that Bitcoin from these purchases. I'm sure they have some lost profit margin thing going on with these Lamborghinis, that if they were to sell 5 or 10 through Bitcoin and not do away with their Bitcoin right off the bat, but retain some of them, it would be in their economic interest to negotiate with you so that they can retain the Bitcoin and it can be a value asset to their overall financial infrastructure. So as a position of negotiation is going back to a very old school way where you're able to negotiate. You're not going to have to deal with these margins or built-in false margins of where you know where the floor is, and everyone knows where the floor is, where you can actually move the floor further down, where you're actually really truly negotiating, where you have something of value, they have something of value, and now you can start talking terms. And so I just mind-boggling that 50 Bitcoin is of this value at this point in its existence. 9 years after the white paper, come January 3rd, 9 years since the software was unleashed in the world. This is where we're at. And for that, I just, want to put it out there. What would your negotiation tactics be? What do you think you could, as, and I'm talking about the full kit caboodle, sales tax, service, all that jazz when it comes to purchasing cars, all that is included in this price. What do you think you could potentially negotiate for a Lamborghini? How would you use your position of power of this wealth asset that retains storage value, retains its ability to go up, if you will, it has value. There's nothing like this right now currently in existence. I mean, there's other crypto coins, but there's never been this type of an asset before, this type of financial instrument, this type of instrument that can't be fake, can't be double spent. Things are very extremely transparent. You know what you're getting, you know what you're receiving, you know what you're sending, you know the value. Nothing's really, truly, completely hidden. So what would you do like 25, like half? Could you think not in fiat terms? Could you think in Bitcoin terms? Could you think in Satoshi? Not that you could probably do this with the Satoshi. Okay. Let's see what the Satoshi value would be. So one Satoshi, $1 is 13,889 Satoshis. So let us put, 350 there. Cancel. So that's 4 billion Satoshi. I'm actually going to do a video kind of going expanding. Oh, you're mining. Don't. About this, about the placement of Satoshi and bits and the whole placement, how this is mind-boggling and how this might be disconcerting for people to see something in like 4 billion in terms of the numerical value of 4 billion Satoshis. Just not the Satoshi part, but the 4 billion. We might not be ready to wrap our minds in different terms when it comes to these numbers. But yeah, just my thoughts on that. Again, the price that site had it 7,200, it's 7,165 here. The price is going up in value. They're supposed to be, Bitcoin Gold is supposed to, like November 1st, we're supposed to have been live. But then we have Satoshi, not Satoshi, but they're calling it BTC2X or the Segwit2X part going. I think it's still going to happen, whether or not it retains its value or not, or ends up becoming the dominant chain remains to be seen. A lot of people are peeling off, if you will. So it's pretty comes down to how many miners can make the network work, and what exchanges are willing to trade and accept that particular coin. And then what else? We'll see. It has a roadster. There's a lot of these are. I've always been fascinated by these type of machines. Proud to accept Bitcoin. They've always been very neat, very good looking vehicles. Um, suicide doors. They have speed. They have a lot of amenities. When you sit in a Lamborghini, and I've actually sat in a Lamborghini before. You're sitting in wealth. You're sitting in quality. They don't scrimp on anything. And given the fact that a lot of these machines are built by hand, a lot of the components here, the amount of money that people are spending on it, yeah, you wouldn't skimp on anything. You wouldn't put a little plastic doo-doo in there. Things are level. Let's see. Let's try that one. Yeah, you wouldn't, skimp on anything, and they have a distinctive look. And again, there's not that many in the U.S. If they're only selling 3,500 per year, you're gonna probably be like the only one in the neighborhood or the street with a Lamborghini, unless you're in like a major city where there's a few people with your same net worth or value driving around. But that's my thoughts, if you will. You can comment below what you think would be if you could negotiate for Bitcoin and use your power of your assets, how, maybe how you would go about it, what amount of Bitcoin you'll be willing to part with in order to obtain a Lamborghini. And I'm not even talking about, say you and Bitcoin were to go up to 10,000, and you need to stop thinking in the sense of the 10,000 fiat value, but think of the overall sense of the overall value of Bitcoin itself. How many Bitcoins, how many bits, how many Satoshis would you part with truly, really, if you were to think in those terms for the value of a Lamborghini? Is it 1 Bitcoin? Is it 5 Bitcoin? Is it, nothing? You wouldn't want to get a Lamborghini, but you might want to do that for a house. But that's it. Those are my thoughts. I very much thank you all for listening. And until next time.